Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside the show while it's live and a link in the info box once the video has rendered. But most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. There are a couple of rules. Number one, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show, as sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show. And one last time, if you are new to the channel or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Sleeping Warrior and Arwin. Good to have you both here, gentlemen. How are you doing?
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Good afternoon again.
Good afternoon.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Oh, I forgot to paste the link. Talk amongst yourselves. I'll just paste the link so people can actually join.
Oh, hang on a sec. Someone's at my door.
Mike's all yours, Arwin.
Yeah, I just almost finished watching this new video by New Earth. It's quite revealing. I posted it in the Masturbators Skype chat. It was about cryptocurrencies and something I didn't know about them. Mainly that they seem to, that it's always been very promising how they work and they're decentralized, but how they actually tend to consume a lot of energy to mine. And I never really stood still on this fact. And yeah, I just finished it, so I'm still kind of processing it.
Yeah, cryptocurrency miners take a huge amount of energy. I mean,
yeah,
huge.
That's crazy. And it's actually kind of dangerous in a way, because if a society would then transit from traditional currency or gold and silver, whether it be gold and silver or printed money, then that they would suddenly have this base energy consumption that would increase over time, and especially the exponential increase is kind of dangerous, because just to survive you will need an increasing amount of energy. And well, there is of course the free energy stuff, and there is a lot of energy and it's becoming a lot more efficient, but still the increase of energy consumption by cryptocurrency just to exist, it grows exponentially, and that is, well, exponential growth is a dangerous thing, because eventually yeah, it will become too much. And I'm figuring out in my mind, like, yeah, how could you bypass this effect? And I think there may be ways to circumvent, I mean, that concept by basically switching the cryptocurrencies, restarting them up. But yeah, that is in a sense the same thing as a monetary system default, and bankers don't like doing that. It brings in all kinds of dangerous factors, and the same thing would go for cryptocurrencies. People that would have invested in it a lot, they would then risk losing their value if they had to switch. So it's another conundrum. It's just, yeah, it really made me think what to do.
It's another layer of control, isn't it? That we lose.
Well, that's what New Earth is saying. It's basically raising the bar, making it even more difficult and more concealed what the dangers really are in this.
Yeah, just another way of keeping track of what you're actually buying. You've got £1 in your pocket and you go and buy something. Nobody can track that, trace that, or track that transaction. Whereas if it's cryptocurrency, you can.
Indeed. And that has its advantages. It also has its disadvantages, because abusing parties, even bankers themselves, they could abuse that anonymity. But yeah, that's yeah, you're never gonna be. It's either full control by people that will eventually turn out to be evil, or it's total chaos, and then the chaos will basically, from the other side, yeah, cause damage in that sense. So money is always going to be extremely complex thing. It's almost untamable in a way, it seems. But yeah, there may be eventually ways to basically go through it. Personally, I have always envisioned, and this is not like vision related, but just a concept. I've always envisioned that eventually currency should just be diverted back to the very first original concept, and that is just exchange of labor, basically. And just what brings real value, it's people doing stuff, inventing stuff, like farmers making food for other people, carpenters making furniture for people to use, that kind of thing. The basics will eventually be the only thing that don't seem to grow out of control. And as long as then humanity can culturally manage to get a grip on greed and on the need of endless expansionism, then things could stabilize. If,
Maybe.
yeah,
Hey,
if
Ranty.
the greedy ones actually allow
Yeah.
that to happen.
How you doing, Ranty?
Yeah, not bad. You?
Not bad. No complaints.
Good, good.
Anyway, yeah, that was that.
So you're all for the barter system.
Well, there's always, like, with more complex and more extensive economies, barter just won't do. It becomes too complex, becomes too inefficient. But it should always be recognized that that is what the actual value is, and that the rest are just substitutes. That is what gold originally was, before it turned into paper money, and then the paper money replaced it, and it became debt. But it is always basically people
Hey,
doing
Fireball,
stuff.
can you hear us? Hello, Fireball. Ah, 5 minutes in, I've got to start a new hangout already. Wonderful. Okay, there'll be a short interlude while I do exactly that. Welcome back, Ranty.
I am.
Excellent
That
stuff.
didn't take long, did it?
Yeah,
Must be a record.
well. no hassle. I'll just put a new link out. Hello, Sleeping Warrior.
Be a record.
You know what? I didn't even have the window open.
Yeah, I'm on it now. I've got the
Don't worry
window
about
open
it.
now,
It's
so
one of
we're
those
all
things.
sorted.
I'll give it 5 minutes before I put the link out again. You're listening,
Right,
Arwin. I've sent you the link.
I'll eject him as soon as he comes in.
Where were we before we got rudely interrupted?
We'd gone through cryptocurrency and then we were just about to move on. Barter system and things. Not that flat earth related, but nonetheless interesting.
Wow. Sure, that noise wasn't meant to happen then. I can just imagine Nathan's right now going, no!
No, it's all good. It's just my kid
Hey.
putting a train set together. It's all good.
Alan B just called me a communist. What the fuck? Sorry.
No swearing, please.
Yeah. No, I don't see how that's really communist. I oppose like out of control expansionism and just see the dangers of the drive of greed if it's not tamed. But communism is basically a centralized system, and it thrives on the control of the state and central banking. It's even written down in the manifesto. So no, I definitely don't subscribe to communism. I subscribe to libertarianism.
Yeah, I'm more libertarian as well.
Yeah, it's just limited government and a sensible culture of self-responsibility and looking for what is sustainable and sensible and still gives meaning, basically. It's not communism, it's not capitalism, it's somewhere in between, in a way, taking out all the control systems that the evil ones tend to look up those positions and then take control, because that's every time what happens, whether it be some government taking control or a dictator taking control or corporations taking control through wealth. It's all the same thing in a way. So in my view, true decentralized libertarianism with a sensible culture of sustainability and personal responsibility and learning and wisdom, that is probably the only thing that can really save humanity and a bigger world society on the long run. Yeah, but no, not communist. Definitely not communist.
Let's talk about the up and coming QED episode, Nath.
Sure. I mean, it's one where if anybody's been keeping up to date with the Flat Earth debate, they'll have a fair idea of what exactly will be presented because it's already been debated about. But until now, Ranty and Chris hadn't actually done any models to sort of show people what we were talking about. It's just been verbalised, and sometimes that can get a bit lost in the debate. So Ranty, Chris, Anthony and myself will hopefully do a presentation in the next few days and just show you what we've verbalised on the last couple of debates in terms of the image that Ranty's caught of the Welsh mountains from Blackpool through a pier and through a set of wind farms. And it's interesting, it's interesting because we've got differing distances, things that should be affected more exponentially by the curve at greater distances, and they're not. That's the bottom line.
On the previous hangouts to do with the Isle of Man, we were looking at Mackle Lighthouse that was sat just above the horizon, but subject to a little bit of negligible refraction, and obviously that formed a big part of the discussion for the longest of times. But on this particular observation, we're not looking at anything that's on the horizon. We're looking at artifacts that are demonstrably, measurably, observably, and empirically above the horizon. And that gives us a totally different perspective. It gives us the ability to see, regardless of where the horizon is, relative to each other, the two items should be following or falling behind a curve of an Earth. And if the things that we see in Pontchartrain are any reflection of reality whatsoever, it should support the Pontchartrain stuff. And obviously, Pontchartrain stuff is accepted and pushed by the ballers into making people think and believe that we live on a ball the size of a basketball, I might add. But if it was really the case that we live on a ball, then this would support and prove Pontchartrain to be accurate. And obviously when we were chatting last night, I said to Ranty, I said, why don't we ask Chris if he can model that turbine on using Blender on a ball, and then model the turbine on a flat plane, and let's see what happens relative to the mountain behind it. So Chris obliged. He said that he would model it. He found a mountain of the same kind of height. He made a mountain up, just took a picture from somewhere. I'm not sure how he did it, but he put a mountain in at that height, matched the turbine to its exact height based on the evidence that we can see, based on the evidence that we were told the turbines comply to. And basically, he showed it on a flat plane and he showed it on a ball earth. And the difference is prominent. And basically, it's not a case of whether you can see it or not. It's the proximal relationship between the two things. And it's blatantly obvious that it is a flat plane. It's not got curvature to it. And it's glorious. So the challenge isn't necessarily going to be, hey, this is proof that the Earth's flat. I think that it's going to be more the case of, well, prove that this is not what we're seeing then, because we can prove that this is consistent with perspective on a flat plane because of the elevations. And I'm looking forward to seeing the debunks for it, because it's not at the horizon. It's not obstruction of the horizon. It's the proximal relationship between the two items that's basically what flat Earth math would argue would be a control. Well, we have that control, and we have it over 40 something miles, which is a bit of a problem, especially if you believe in Pontchartrain.
Ranty?
Yeah, it's basically following on from challenging that guy yesterday. It appeared, it occurred to me that what we're looking at in that image is a flat image. Basically, it's not showing any curve, and it occurred to me that the mountains being 42 miles away should have gone way beyond the curve, changing the perspective in relation to the wind turbine. So when I modelled it myself, showed it to Chris. Chris was interested, and he decided to look at it and do it on his Blender. And what do you know, it kind of matched up perfectly. So it was exactly what I was trying to articulate yesterday to the gentleman, the ball earther that was in debate yesterday. And he said he was going to model it, but I don't think he's around today, is he?
No.
He might turn up. You never know your luck. But it is pretty late there now, so he said he was going to bed, and we started early yesterday, so maybe not. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, basically, once I spent 2 minutes telling him about this and explaining the position that I believed the mountain should be in relation to the wind turbine if we lived on both a flat plane and a ball. And the next thing, he said he had to go, and he disappeared within a minute, and he was gone. So, kind of says it all, really.
We could show the two pictures, couldn't we? Or should we not?
Yeah, show what you like. Don't think it makes any difference. We'll do a standalone presentation so that all this is condensed. But while we're chatting about it, I don't mind you show what you like. Who cares?
What do you think, Nate, Ranty?
Yeah, I'm happy for you to show whatever you want.
And this is the point for me. This is the penny dropping. I mean, I understood the point, but I couldn't picture it. I couldn't picture and compare and contrast the two models in my mind. I needed to see real world application of what Ranty was saying, because even though I understood his point, without being able to prove what he or illustrate what he was describing, he wasn't able to make his point clearly with just words. You know, they say that words, every picture's means 1,000 words, or every picture's worth 1,000 words. Well, that's exactly what it was. That was the problem that Ranty had yesterday in trying to describe that which we can model without actually modeling it first. He was doing it based on a suck and a squeeze. And although Ranty understood it, the way to get it across to other people isn't easy to do when you're doing it on the fly, when you haven't done the model already. And that was where we were at yesterday, or where Ranty was at yesterday. And if I now, I should be able to share my screen here and make this big so that they can see it. Share screens, share the whole application, share my entire screen. Nathan, if you could present that, I think I should be able to do this.
I will. I've just got a very slow hangout. No, I've just got your swinging warrior. Nothing to present. All gone quiet as well.
Sorry, say that again.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, we got you.
Okay, so what we needed to try and establish was relative to the mountain in the background, where would the turbine sit if we lived on a flat plane? Now, obviously, this is the same mountain on the right-hand side, and it's dropped behind the curvature of an Earth. And the curvature of the Earth is the exact one, they tell us, 24,930 miles. Depending on where you go for that information, you get slightly different results, but essentially it's 25,000 miles. If you make a ball at that distance, forget the turbine in the foreground, look at the hub height in relation to the height of the mountain behind. So this mountain to its peak was essentially whatever height it was. And if it was dropping behind the curve of the Earth because of its relevant its proximal relationship to the turbine at 40 odd miles from the observer, it should drop behind the turbine, and that was what Ranty was saying. Now, essentially, this is without atmospheric refraction, and we all know that refraction makes a flat plane appear to be spherical shaped. So essentially, they're going to come back with the argument that what we're seeing here is a mirage. It's all going to be loomed up like.
Sorry to interrupt. What did you say? Refraction makes a flat Earth look spherical. That's not true. They apply maths that suggests to them, in circular reasoning, that we start with curve and light bends around said curve. So that's an assumption that...
Yeah, it makes it look flat.
Yeah, the maths makes it look flat, but not the refraction. The maths simply makes a flat Earth observation match up with their preconceptions of sphericity. It doesn't mean that it's actually doing anything. There's no evidence ever been presented, and certainly not to me, that there's any evidence of refraction that needs to be accounted for other than on the bottom millimetre at the horizon line. Other than that, there is never, ever, ever any evidence put forward that we should be observing and therefore calculating for refraction. It's just never been demonstrated. Ever.
Well, Karen B just told me that she had an interview with Crow 777 and YouTube have deleted it. So Crow 777 appears to be the flavour of the month at the minute. He's probably going to be on the hit list next. A lot of people are losing their channels for some reason at the moment.
Yeah, go into these images. Essentially what it was the mountain, the image to the left is what we actually saw in both the video and the still pictures that I took. And that's what I expected to see on a flat Earth. The distance to the turbine was a little over 23 miles. The distance to the mountains in the background was 42.5 miles. And size-wise, the wind turbine was roughly half the size of the mountain. So it occurred to me that you should see them at the same height. At the tip of the turbine and the top of the mountain should, in relation to each other, be pretty close. And then when I thought about it and thought, well, if you live on a ball and you've got a drop on the turbine of just 140 feet, but then on the mountain you have a drop of 808 feet, then when you're looking at that from the position that I took the image, you would see it as modelled on the right-hand side, where the turbine itself is higher than the mountain. And that's what was modelled out. I did a model similar to this. It didn't look like this at all. But Chris actually modelled this, and this is what I was trying to articulate, that if we lived on a ball, what I should have captured on the P900 was an image that looked exactly like it should on the right-hand side, and it didn't. It looked exactly as it did on the left-hand side, which is consistent with a flat Earth. And this can all be proved.
Yeah, you've got an exponential curve, so like you say, you've summed it up nicely when you say it's 100+ feet for the wind turbines in terms of the drop that you see at this distance, if you assume you live on a sphere. And then as you go further beyond that, the curve gets exponentially larger. So instead of just dropping by 100 feet or 100 feet plus, it's dropping by 800 feet plus at the same distance again. So we're going from 20 to 40 miles, and we're seeing an increase in drop from 120 feet to 850 feet. You know, it's a huge amount of drop, because it's exponential. If you're on a sphere, the further you look, the more the curve gets. So therefore, you're going to see the mountains drop in relation to the wind turbines if you're on a sphere. We don't. It hasn't dropped. It hasn't budged a smegging inch.
Well, that's it. On the left image, we're looking at a turbine that's a total height of 606 feet. And in the background, the mountain is roughly about 1,300 feet. So, you know, pretty close to each other, like 50%. The turbine is almost 50%. if you look on the right-hand side, what we have is the turbine had dropped 140 feet, which means that it is now sitting at around about 460 feet high in your perspective. And the mountain in the background, you're only seeing the top 600 feet of that, or no, the top 500 feet of that, but it's twice as far away. So it should appear lower than the turbine due to perspective. And this is how I thought it in my head. We've modelled it. It's absolutely 100%. This is what we should see, and we didn't see it like this. The evidence shows that it's flat.
Can you show us your side elevations? I know they're not done in Blender and so on, but it's not really relevant. It's just simpler.
Sure, yeah.
So I'd like to see that if you can bring that up, or if you can show the audience. I should say I've seen it already, obviously.
That's one. Hang on. Get rid of this. Get rid of that. Just need to get rid of some of these ones that I'm not going to need. So,
I have got it on screen if you want it, Ranty.
Oh, have you? Right, perfect. That's great. Yeah, if you've got both,
yeah,
I'll talk you through. This is what I showed to Chris, obviously. And I think I showed it to you first, didn't I? And then I showed it to Chris. I tried to get hold of Nathan, but he was busy.
All right, so yeah, I think he was having dinner. How dare he? I'm just making it bigger so that it looks big enough for everybody to see. Right, so if I bring up this, share my screen again. Oops. Come on. Share screen. And minimize that. Ranty.
Yep.
Can you see that?
Just waiting for it to...
You have to click on him locally, Ranty.
All right, okay. So are you displaying this now?
Yeah, it's out to the audience.
Yeah, right, perfect. Yeah, so the image on the left was how I envisaged it on the ball. So what you have is the turbine in your perspective. Basically, the turbine itself has just dropped probably just under a quarter of its total height, whereas the mountain in the background has dropped over half its height. So when you lower them to those, what you would have to look through is the turbine to see the top of the hill. Whereas on a flat plane, on the right-hand side image, because it's relative in distance, which is half the distance to the turbine distance to the mountain, but it's also half the size, right? It should look very, when you look at the tip of the turbine, you should see the top of the hill. And that's what we see in the image.
What you're saying basically is the tip of the turbine should match, the tip of the turbine on a flat plane should match the tip of the mountain.
Yes.
But if it's a ball, it should be about the hub that matches the tip of the mountain.
Yes.
And that's demonstrating the proximal relationship between the two items over a great distance of 40 plus miles.
Yep. And so because we have the exact height of the turbine and the exact height of the mountains, and we have exact distances, GPS coordinates for where I took the image, everything, we know that what I saw was consistent with a flat plane as opposed to a ball Earth.
You've taken it in multiple conditions as well. You've taken it early morning, mid-afternoon, just as it's getting dark, and you're getting the same images every time. The conditions don't seem to make any difference to these mountains on account of the fact that they're so big and you're looking up to them. So where you'd have this tiny band of atmospheric refraction / the circle of confusion right at the horizon line, we're not looking at any of that. Don't need any of that. So useful because you've obviously caught some banana cam action, some Soundly action in terms of these wind turbines. But if you're going to assume that they are sat dropping away on a curve in that refraction band, then you have to expect that that curve will continue, that atmospheric conditions permit us to see the curve today. Therefore, we're going to see it in the mountains far, far more severely because the curve is exponential. It gets worse the further you go. And we don't see that. It just isn't there. It's not in the images, and it doesn't matter what conditions they're being taken in. You're getting the same results. What does vary is at the horizon, where these globers claim we see curvature. Well, we've got that demonstrated too in these images. So if you're going to claim we're seeing curvature at 20 miles, you've got a lot of explaining to do why we don't see it at 40 plus.
Yeah, exactly. The mountains can't be standing up straight whilst the turbines are dropping.
And obviously, the counter is going to be along the lines of, well, atmospheric refraction can account for this. Well, we know that atmospheric refraction on standard conditions is negligible. And unless there's any evidence to indicate that this is non-standard refraction, which of course there is none, then even if it was non-standard refraction, you're going to, basically we're looking at an illusion again.
No. You can't have that. They can't have non-standard refraction for a couple of different reasons. In this instance, if they're going to say that we are seeing the drop, then obviously conditions are not conducive to mask that drop with non-standard refraction, i.e. light bending around the curve that we don't see in perfect uniform. That is negated if apparently we see curvature, and we are told very distinctly by someone like Soundly and Ruhif yesterday, what about the curve that we see in the turbines? It's like, fine, you can more than happily claim that that is curvature. However, you still have to account for that curvature continuing. We're not seeing conditions conducive of non-standard refraction if we actually see things curving around the Earth. You can't have it both ways. You can't be perfectly bending it uniformly around a curve and demonstrating drop halfway along the way. That's not possible.
Ranty, do you want to pull up the actual picture of what the actual evidence and show the evidence? Because if people can see where the turbine and the mountain line up, it should be obvious then to people what we're looking at.
You've got the contrasted one without the ruler, maybe. That's probably the best one.
Yeah, I'm just looking for it now.
So the key point is if the tip of the turbine lines up with the tip of the mountain, then it's a ball. Is that right, Ranty? Is that the right way around?
No, if it lines up with the top of the mountain, it's flat.
If the tip of the blade,
yes, matches up with the top of the mountain or just beneath, then it's a flat image. If the hub is the height of the top of the mountain, then it's a ball.
So basically, it's to do with what lines up on the turbine. Is it the tip of the blade, or is it the actual hub itself? And it's literally black and white. You have to pick. And if you want to defy what your eyes show you in the evidence, then you're a moron. The evidence is the evidence. Can't be manipulated. There can't be any deduced horizons here. It is what it is.
Right, can you zoom in a bit so we can see these wind turbines?
Of course, can you? You've got the smaller wind turbines to the left, which are part of the Burbo Bank wind farm. You have 3 other wind turbines here that are part of the Burbo Bank wind farm. But smack bang in the middle, you have one turbine that's much larger than the others, along with another one here, which is part of the Burbo Bank extension, which this particular turbine sits behind these turbines that are in the foreground. So this turbine is sat at 23 miles away. These turbines are at 20 miles away. This one in the background is a different type of turbine, and to the top of the blade, which is where my cursor is now, is 606 feet, which is just beneath the hub height. The hub height is where my cursor is now.
Basically, the easy way to describe it, Ranty, is if the mountain in the background lines up with the tip of the turbine, then it means that the Earth is
flat.
What? And if the mountain in the background lines up with the hub of the turbine, the Earth is what?
A ball.
And basically, where does the tip of the mountain line up with? Is it the tip or is it the hub?
The tip.
Correct. Therefore, the Earth must be a flat plane.
Here we have another big one, which obviously, when it was the turbine goes around, would be here. The hub is here, way below the mountain. These are 606 feet. Now, they are half the height of the mountains in the background, roughly, and they are half the distance. So they should, to the tip of the tip, should match up with the top of the mountain due to perspective. If we live on a flat Earth.
Yeah,
if we live on a ball, then that mountain, the top of that mountain is we're only seeing the top 500 feet of that. But this turbine, we're seeing over 500 feet, well, 460 feet, but it's half as near as the mountain in the background. So the mountain would have appeared much lower on the horizon and the turbine much taller, because the mountain would have dropped. And this isn't what we're seeing. What we're actually seeing is it looking just like you would expect on a flat Earth.
Can you bring up Chris's model pictures again just one last time, Anthony, please?
I think I've got it here. So this is what you'd expect to see on a flat Earth. where the hub is in relation here, and the top of the turbine would just be below the top of the mountain. If we lived on a ball, this is what you would see. The turbine has only dropped to 460 feet in height.
Hellboy?
The mountain has dropped to...
Hey, what's up?
The mountain has dropped to 500 feet in height, but it's twice as far away. So, perspective-wise, this turbine would look larger than the mountains in the background.
Very good.
That's it. Yeah, dead easy. I mean, we can't wait to present this properly, but
Well, you pretty much got the gist of what we're going to present. You know, hopefully Chris will be there, and he'll add a few more details, and we'll have it in a condensed 5 or 10 minute format rather than in the middle of this debate. But you know, pretty much that's the crux of it.
So guys, you guys think just question here, right? Hey, by the way, long time no talk, but do you guys think this, I guess, is gonna get the same amount of attention that the SMB's vision did?
Yeah, it already has. So people have already come on, tried to debunk it. You know, didn't know yesterday if we were talking to the monkey or the organ grinder. Can you stop screaming, please? So yeah, it's already garnered some attention.
Is that part of the? I hate, but I mean, it's like, you know, how many of these type of visions can we keep going through?
Millions. Every image in history is a flat Earth image.
Well, looks.
Okay.
Mercury Messenger says there's video footage of the spherical Earth from the 40s. First time I've heard of that.
Really? That's awesome. But like, is there gonna be a point where?
Where is it then?
I'm asking you guys. Like, is this supposed to be the next one? Like, is this supposed to be the next SMBs? Because you know, SMBs had a lot of, I guess, attention, right? It went on for what? About 3-4 months. How long do you think this one will go?
Well, on as long as the weather conditions are favourable and it says that the conditions are good visibility wise, I should be able to go along every single day and capture this same type of image. So as long as I can go out and keep filming these mountains in relation to the turbines, I can prove every single time I go that the Earth is flat and not going around. It's definitely not a ball. So you tell me.
Well,
I can look from Blackpool to Wales and see that it's flat.
Ranty, you bring up a good point, because now this is your vision, your calculations.
Yep.
You're the one in charge.
Yep.
How long would you let this go on?
I'm happy to. Hey,
Aaron, how you doing?
Yeah.
Can you hear us?
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah,
hello.
I'm happy to present this for, I don't know, maybe a couple of weeks, and then that's it. Move on to something different. Just get this out there. Let's just get it talking about. And I can just keep adding new videos privately on my channel, probably every month.
But the thing is, though, in the context of the greater picture, we now have observations from Hoy Lake of Blackpool Tower at 30 miles. We have observations from Blackpool looking down into Welsh Mountains at 40 miles. We have St. Bees over to Isle of Man at around 30-something miles. It's flat as a pancake from multiple places around the coast. That the more we collect this evidence, the more unlikely it is to be that it's living on a ball if we're getting this evidence repeatedly from multiple locations, right? This isn't a one-off.
I'd agree with that, and that's why I mean I would hope that, like, you know, within 2 weeks, Randy's got it right. Like, we don't get this figured out in 2 weeks. Let's move on and get another one.
But it shouldn't really be up for debate, really. I mean, it's what we're looking at. Well, we should be looking at on a ball Earth is a mountain in the background that we're only seeing 500 feet of it, and we're looking at a turbine that's half the distance away, and we're seeing 460 feet of that. So it's really that simple. You have a turbine half the distance away looking 460 feet in height, and behind that, twice as far away, is a mountain where we're only seeing 500 feet. So perspective-wise, you should see the mountain beneath the height of the turbine. So you should see it lower than the turbine. And we're not seeing that in the image. So that's
perspective, it. Perspective seems to be the main thing here, because people think it's disappearing behind a curve. But, with the laws of perspective, stuff vanishes down to the vanishing point evenly if it's at eye level and if it reaches a true vanishing point. But if it reaches a false vanishing point, that'll happen if the object is extremely large and off of our, short distance off of the ground. We only have 6 feet from our eyes down for the lower half of our vanishing point. So large objects going away from us in the distance would tend to set and not reach the true vanishing point. They would reach a false horizon where the bottom half would bottom out first. And so it looks like this misunderstanding might be the source of all of this heliocentric crap.
Yeah. I mean, we've always said that when you're looking at stuff low down and you're trying to look at things in the distance that are low down too, which is why they always try to pull you back to what's on the beach. It's very difficult to capture that on any day, basically, just because of the weather conditions at very, very low levels. But with these new observations, we're finding that you can still model the flat versus the ball when you're looking up to things. If you've got a set height and set distances between stuff with things that you can physically measure, and you know what those heights are and the distances and stuff like this. So I think these are better observations, really. And I think it should be more, this sort of observation should happen more and more.
Don't you think there's a little bit of circularity involved in some... Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I do agree. I mean, like you're the only one who seems to be not only observing these things but pointing them out, because you was the one who also figured out the Sanbees thing, right? I mean, Friday he took some pictures, and he was probably viewing through his pictures like old good friends do, and you found that there was some oddness going on in the same way like you found this or yesterday or a couple of days ago. So you must be one of the only flat earthers that are really starting to point this stuff out. I mean, you're right. More need to be taking your perspective of life and really going out there and taking pictures like this or observing pictures. What's your thought on that?
Yeah, I agree, Hellboy.
Why are you the only one?
Why am I the only one? Well, let's hope that I'm not the only one. If you think I'm the only one, then so be it. But let's hope in 6 months' time there's going to be another 100.
He's not the only one, is he? Because there's a guy in somewhere in Ireland that saw the backside of the Isle of Man with stuff that should that should be behind the curvature of the Earth. So it's not only ranting.
Apart from some guy in Ireland, who else is there doing it?
There are thousands of people observing flatness all over the Earth.
Flat Max UK.
Yeah, Flat Max UK. He's seen France, and he's seen the boat pulling into the port in Calais. Shouldn't see that. The boat should be gone.
Got
20 miles away.
Shed Rage up in Scotland. EC stuff.
Shed Rage. Yeah. Shout out to Dell.
Yeah, he goes out and he does actual filming too, over big, large bodies of water, and sees things that he shouldn't.
And we see Taboo Conspiracy in America going out and showing that lakes around where he lives flat as a pancake.
We've also got Soundly showing the flat Earth
8 miles across the lake that he lives at, and he's got his wife not lay in the water, but knelt down in the water with a flashlight pointing to the horizon, and he's on the other side of it, 8 miles away, and he can see the flashlight on 8 miles. Basically, Bedford Levels experiment's been validated to be true. Yes, flat, mate. Yeah, not just us doing it. It's just we're interested because we live in a cove.
Well, why do you guys get together and like actually plan hey, you know what? We think this is a good spot that we can actually take good pictures. you know, you guys should plan together and meet up and take these pictures together. It'd be a good thing for y'all. Bonding experience.
And also, you know, people say that it's so large we can't, you know, see how round it is. Okay, so basically they're saying human perspective is limited and we can't see what's going on with the whole globe. Fine. We try to use instruments that give us a bigger picture, like lasers, microwave rays, and light that can go further distances and can tell us what's going on with the globe. It shows that it's flat, and then they still discount it. So in a way, you know, we try to do what the globers say and use the tools in front of us to kind of, you know, validate or not validate their theories. And when it comes out against their theories, they just throw it out. It makes no sense. And then even with the observations of perspective and stuff like that, maybe some of these perspective calculations for like the stars and the sun are off because it's dipping in the horizon, not from, you know, being millions of miles away, but just, you know, from reaching a vanishing point. So maybe these calculations need to be readjusted to account for vanishing point distances and stuff like that. Maybe they're off and getting these astronomical figures from a bad understanding of how perspective works and how objects that are really large tend to dip toward a horizon anyway, and you're going to draw a low angle observation to them based off of perspective, not from distance.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my point was just this: like, it seems to me like Randy is the only one doing the grunt work, and you know, I kind of feel bad for Randy about that. And you know, I'm trying to help Randy out. It's like, why doesn't everybody else, you know, help out? Or at least, you know, why don't you guys get together and try to like do these observations together? Why is Randy the only one making these observations and helping them out?
Is it me, or was that the quality of that voice then terrible?
Yeah, it's going to get about 50% what you're saying, Hellboy. I don't know if you're on wind or something, but if you can cup your mic.
What I was saying was this, right? It seems that Randy is the only one that's going out and making these observations.
Didn't you just make this point 5 minutes ago? You just made this point 5 minutes ago, and loads of people just pointed out that there's dozens of other people making these observations. Literally, you just made this exact point, and it's been countered by people pointing out there's dozens of people making these observations. It's not just Ranty.
Right, somebody's mic's open while Nathan's speaking, and we can't hear Nathan. I think it's a rave. Yes, it was. Say that again, Nathan.
So there's not just one person, Ranty, going out making these observations. You made this objection a second ago, Hellboy, and then it was pointed out to you that lots of people are making these observations, and now you've just said exactly the same thing again.
Yeah, well, I was told I wasn't heard. That's why I said it again.
Who? Oh, right, I see. Yeah, well, in that case, I'll re-answer you. Taboo Conspiracy in central Texas area somewhere, he's showing that there's no curve where he lives. Flat Max UK, he shows that there's no curve on the south coast of England because he can see France across the English Channel at 20-odd miles, and he can see the boat harbouring up at Calais. That boat's meant to have gone behind the curve. So you can see the boat in Calais in France, and he shouldn't do. There's thousands of people doing observations all across this Earth plane, whatever, and we're all not finding any curvature. And on every occasion, it's always explained by non-standard refraction, and it's nonsense.
Hyena math.
Yeah,
that's all it is. It's just hyena math, and it never works. Yeah, right, I've got a nip out for about 20 minutes. I'll be back in 20 minutes, guys.
In a little bit.
Okay. See you in a bit.
I mean, I'm just like, between you all, like this group, right? Which is essentially, when I say this group, actually I'm referring back to Nathan and you, Riley. It seems like you guys don't really go out and do the work.
What are you
seems like Ranty does
what
most of the. He finds observations, and then you guys just jump on it.
Isn't that by definition doing the work?
No.
Rubbish.
And in any organization, you know, a lot of times they're going to have maybe a tenth of the people doing the, you know, the legwork, and everybody supporting them, you know, so that's pretty, you know, typical, you know, of even a corporation. So, you know, maybe we could get in there and help them, you know, when we can with our own experiments and things. But, you know, thank goodness for Ranty.
What makes you like, you know, not doing the work?
It just feels like that to me. Like, he's the guy doing the legwork, and then, like, you guys just take his shit and run with it. Like, whatever Ranty says, you guys run with it. I mean, that seems like what's happening to me. I mean, don't get me wrong, guys. Don't get me wrong. I'm not against what you guys are doing.
So
I understand you guys are.
How would you explain the Lake Balaton experiment then? Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, I'm not trying to explain that. I don't want to explain that. I'm just saying that it seems like whatever Ranty says and finds, you guys jump on. Well, when are you actually going to make a discovery for yourselves?
Well, believe me, we don't always agree with what Ranty interprets. I mean, I've said it publicly at times where I've disagreed with Ranty, and I've said it privately with Nathan and rage quitted with the two of them because we don't always agree on what's considered strong and what's not considered strong. So this perception that you seem to have or claim to have is based on absolute ignorance, and you don't know what you're talking about.
And a lot of this
I obviously think I cannot know what I'm obviously thinking about it. That notion what you just said is absolutely absurd, manifestly absurd, to put it in your own words.
Nathan, is it me or is Hellboy going through terribly?
Yeah. What did you say, Arif? What did you want to say?
I was just saying that, you know, these experiments do help, but a lot of this stuff is self-evident. I mean, if we were rocketing on a ball through space, night and day would change every 6 months. And then they pull out this stuff about the sidereal day, which has nothing to do with the solar day. The sidereal day is the star day with the constellations. It's the amount of time it takes for the constellations to return to their exact same position, and that's a little slower than the solar day, and it's off by a couple of days. That doesn't mean that we're not necessarily on a flat Earth. That could mean that maybe the stars are in a slower rotation to the sun, and so we could still be on a flat Earth, just, you know, with the clock that, you know, was made by God, dialed with the stars slower than the sun. And clocks would, regular digital clocks would be off by about half an hour every 2 weeks on this sidereal day model, and they just ignore it and say that these clocks somehow automatically readjust themselves. And then I was talking with somebody about the sidereal day. You got the Earth turning, revolving around its axis, going around the Earth. When it's going around in a circular fashion around the sun, it has to go a greater distance each day to get to the same position with the sun in the sky in the same position. For it to go a greater distance in the same amount of time, that means that the day has lengthened. The clocks would reflect this based off of whatever day you base your day on when you set that digital clock. So clocks are not alive. They do not readjust themselves as far as I know. So once you set that clock to whatever day you set it to, it would be off from that point on, half an hour, about once every week, really, or every 2 weeks. And digital clocks do not reflect this. We do not see day turning into night, turning back into day every 6 months. So this is not observed. This is absurd. We shouldn't even have to go to disprove anything beyond that point because the bomb model is absurd.
Hey Mark, how you doing? Can you hear us?
Yeah, what's up, Nathan? I'm cool. Yeah, I was just waiting for Oro to stop his ramble.
What's up? Sky, moon, stars, usual stuff?
Yep. What's up?
Yeah, we got Hellboy that's coming through really bad, and we got a Rave that sounds like he's in a washing machine. I think he's driving. Oh, we have Karen B. I wasn't expecting to see Karen B. Can you pop up?
Hey, is my voice any better now?
Much better. Can you hear us, Karen? Is that really you?
So, Riley, just to clarify, out of all the claims you've made, then, what one are we sticking with now, then? Because you've been wrong about, 99.999% of the time.
Sticking with all the claims that I've made. Blackpool Tower can be seen from Hoylake at 30 miles away. It should be pretty much behind the curve of the Earth, Mark. I've done a video on it recently. I'm sure you've seen it.
Right.
Produced the evidence and showed it. I'm happy that the Mackle Lighthouse should be behind the curve of the Earth. We can see it.
Can you show me where it says? Can you show me where in the globe model it says that they should be behind the curve?
You've modelled it, Mark.
No, I'm asking you to show me where in the globe model, because you're saying that according to the globe model it shouldn't be seen. So can you show me where it says in the globe model that they cannot be seen?
Yeah, no problem.
Sure.
The Earth model
Just
has
watch the
a
video.
circumference 24,900 miles.
So you
that
can't
dictates.
Okay.
That dictates.
No, it's okay. Just to clarify, you can't do it. Okay.
Sorry, no, we have done it. If you go to a demonstration called
No, you haven't
QED,
done it. I've watched your show.
You seem to have verbal diarrhea. Mark. I've asked a question and now I'm answering you, and you seem to be continually talking over me like you're triggered. So I'll say it nice and calmly. There's a demonstration called "The Earth is Obviously and Observably Flat" (QED), where we demonstrate using Blender and a model of an Earth 24,900 miles in circumference what should and should not be seen.
Right,
so we have
you
demonstrated
can't
this.
point me to where it says in the globe.
Yeah, I'll just say it once more. So, on a demonstration called Obviously and Observably Flat, QED, you can go and watch the model, your model, a Earth 24,900 miles in circumference. That model demonstrates that Morgord Lighthouse should not be seen.
Oi, Arwin, don't start muting me, bruv. Don't mute me.
Don't talk over Nathan.
Don't mute me, Arwin.
Don't
Don't mute
talk
me,
over
Arwin.
Nathan. It's really
It's got nothing to do with you. If Nathan
so.
thinks I'm out of order, he can say something. Don't you start muting me.
No, I just wanted to hear what he had to say.
You haven't been given a victim card,
so I can
Mark,
mute you
so,
then, okay, yeah?
So, did you understand my reply, Mark? You're now onto something totally different, tangential, or whatever the word is. So,
yeah, Nathan, I don't know whether it's you or whether it's me, but I can hardly hear you.
Right. Try not talking when I talk. So, did you understand what I just said to you about it being modelled based on the Well, I'll say it again for a third time. There is a model of Earth 24,900 miles in circumference. These stats are put into a Blender program to replicate that circumference of a sphere Earth, where we demonstrate what should and should not be seen based on your maths for your globe. That video is called QED, the Earth is obviously and observably flat.
So, hey, Nathan, one question.
You've been wrong 99% of the time, so I'm sorry, Nathan, but your incompetence just doesn't cut it.
But can I have a second here? But Nathan, right? You know, you're gonna talk about using that method of relevance, but when people use that same methodology, when we were apparently seeing Ireland, you totally debunked it. You was like, that's not, those references are not valid.
Hello,
so why
Siri?
are they?
Can you hear us?
Why are they valid now?
Can you hear us, Sue? Is it Sue?
No, but hey, Nathan, you didn't answer my question, right? Like those same references that you're using right now were used to tell you why you were not seeing Ireland. And back then you was like, you can't use those. Those are all wrong. And you was debunking those references. And now you're trying to use them yourself.
Of course they are.
Sorry,
it's Hypocrite City here. This is Hypocrite Town Centre.
Sorry, Mark. Did you not understand the word Nathan, Mark? Did you think that was your name for a moment there?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, that's my name.
I tried to
everyone else
understand the words being said, Mark.
Nathan as well.
Yeah, you'll understand when someone talks to you, Mark, because they'll use your name like I am now. So, what was your question, Hellboy?
All right, why are you trying to use the same references that you once debunked that were used to tell you why you were not seeing Ireland? Right.
What, Google Earth, you mean?
Google Earth. Not just Google Earth, but also PeakMinder and all the other shit you guys are using to show this. You are essentially saying they're all wrong, but now you're trying to use them.
Right. So Google Earth
what point
showed us.
Does that not? Do you not see the contradiction there?
No. We've modelled the Earth 24,900 miles in circumference and shown what should not be seen. What's wrong with that?
Yeah, but no, that doesn't answer my question, does it?
So do you want to ask me a question again? You're saying, why are you using methodology that has led you to believe that you were looking at Ireland when it's incorrect? What led us to believe we were looking at Ireland was Google Earth.
Okay, good answer.
Google Earth didn't lead you to believe we was looking at Ireland.
Feel free to check out the demonstration called "The Earth is obviously an observably flat," where you will see Google Earth utilised to demonstrate Ireland, which was incorrect. That is what the facts are. That is what we used. That is what led us to those conclusions. Simple. I don't really understand why you feel that in any way, shape or form the circumference of the Earth at 24,900 miles, which has been modelled, is in any way inaccurate. Because it isn't.
You was proved wrong, wouldn't you, Nathan? What happened to the chimneys? What happened to the boat that was delivering coal to the power station? Where did they all go?
Sorry, this has no relevance to the Earth, 24,900 miles in circumference, and what should and should not be seen.
I thought your whole thing was it's QED, Flat Earth Exposed. The best Flat Earth evidence, and now it's got nothing to do with Flat Earth. How's that work out then?
It absolutely has everything to do with Flat Earth, as it demonstrates the Earth to be flat.
So surely your incompetence has got a lot to do with it, hasn't it?
You don't seem to have addressed what I've just said. Those demonstrations still absolutely stand and have the same relevance they always have.
They can't stand, can they? Because Ireland wasn't seen.
And they are, and they do stand. And I'm directing the audience right now to go and look at those demonstrations of an Earth 24,900 miles in circumference, which fails to match the observation.
Why couldn't you see Ireland, Nathan? Why couldn't you see Ireland?
Because the camera limitations was about 42 miles. That's why we couldn't see Ireland.
What? The camera only sees 42 miles?
On that day, yes, that's correct.
That doesn't make any sense. Why would it only see 42 miles, Nathan? Why
that was 41? The limitations of the visibility on the day mark.
Why 42? Yeah, but Riley said that it was an astoundingly clear day, an exceptionally clear day, I think was the words he used.
Yeah, that's right. And on an exceptionally clear day, the camera limitations were 42 miles. Sorry, are you not accepting this?
I'm not accepting what? That you've just lied and you're incompetent.
No.
Yeah, I accept that.
Stop
but I'm just
smearing.
trying to get you. I didn't swear. What are you about?
No, smearing. You're smearing him. You're talking bullshit.
Smearing? What are you talking about?
Hello, Ryan. How you doing?
Just
hold on.
Camera couldn't see.
Hold on, Sarah, to a new guest. Hold on. Hello, Ryan. How you doing?
Hello.
Andy, can you you have a legal...
Hellboy, I'm not going to ask you again. If you interrupt me one more time, I will boot you out. Hello, Ryan. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Very well. Pleasure to have you.
Pleasure to have you, too. I just wanted to say one thing quick, Nathan, is that that Blender model you had is not at all accurate to what the actual Earth is. It's an oblate spheroid, at least on our model. And it's not perfectly a sphere. I mean, you've got elevation variance, you've got radial differences from the center of Earth's mass, you've got the meridial circumference is different than the equatorial circumference, so you know it's not perfectly accurate when you attempt to model it.
Show me an accurate one then, please. Can you show me an accurate one then? If that one's not accurate, please show me one that is.
Okay, give me 1 second.
Nathan, just hang on a sec. We've got Karen Bean on the panel. She's not had an invite, not had a welcome.
I tried to say hello. I didn't get a hello. Can you hear us, Karen?
I can.
Oh, good to have you.
Sorry.
Here we have a voice of reason.
Was that supposed to be funny then, Riley?
No, she sounds a lot better on the mic than you do, Mark.
That was hilarious.
Yeah, a bit like your panel, isn't it, Mark? That's hilarious.
The voice of reason, man. That's so funny.
Everything's funny to you, Mark.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
It's all you do is LOL.
Especially someone who says they've been talking to Bigfoot, and that's a personal relation.
But you don't even pay attention to what I say.
Don't lie, Karen.
When did I say I talked to Bigfoot? Please
you said you
go find the
video.
You
said you had a personal experience with Bigfoot outside your house.
I have many times.
Yes, so then.
But I didn't.
So what's the personal experience then? What did you do? Pick apples out of the tree together?
No.
How would you class a personal experience with Bigfoot then, Karen?
The personal experience can be internal.
I didn't know
Doesn't
your
mean
name was
that you
Karen.
actually have to meet them
I didn't
in
know your
physical
name was
person.
Karen Arwin.
No, it's very hard for you to
I didn't know
actually
your name was
imagine
Karen
things,
Arwin.
Mark, because your imagination is
please.
just as limited as your
I
verbal
didn't know your
quality.
name was Karen
Because you're a
Arwin.
complete moron troll that does nothing
Right,
but
both
just
of you
smear
calm down.
people
Arwin,
constantly and
come
laugh
on.
like a total idiot.
So it's okay for you to smear people, but not me, Arwin.
Yeah, when
okay?
it's actually true, it is.
Okay, shut up, Tranny.
Be nice, guys. Be nice. But don't you guys think that there's a little bit of a lack of self-awareness from the borrower side? I mean, they're talking about Earth being an oblate spheroid. That sounds like an inaccurate map to me. And you don't see an oblate spheroid coming from NASA. You see perfect spheres. So they're talking about flat Earth not having an accurate map. How about the flat Earthers having an accurate spheroid, oblate spheroid?
You never see perfect
map?
sphere. There's no such thing as a perfect
Talking
sphere.
over people.
So while we have a talk over fest from Mark, I'll do a quick link as we have approximately 1 hour left on this live broadcast. Hopefully you're all enjoying the debate thus far. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a link in the info box below this video once the video is rendered, and a super chat that runs alongside the show while it's live. But most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you're currently watching, then click the link in the info box to join the discussion and express your views on the shape of the Earth. Please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show, as sharing the show increases the live audience, and this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. As I say, there's approximately 1 hour left on this live stream.
And he shows that level of curvature, right?
Yeah.
And you think it shows the curvature of the Earth?
Do I? I think it shows the effect of curvature, yeah.
I'm going to have to come back to you in a sec.
That's all been fine.
Well, Karen, where was we? Your personal experience with Bigfoot. What would you class as a personal experience with Bigfoot, Karen? Silence. Yeah. Okay, I suppose I've just had a personal experience with Karen B.
I don't think she's here to talk about
Once again, I didn't think your name was Karen. If you want to be called Karen from now on, I'll call you Karen.
Okay, someone please stop muting Karen. It's not cool.
No one's muting Karen as far as I know. Mate.
Karen.
Somebody was muting me.
Well, you should chat in the back chat. I'm on an iPad, so I can't see it, but I wouldn't mute you.
I didn't know we were here to talk about Bigfoot.
It's an open panel. It's about anything, Karen.
Yeah, right. Well, this is Flat Earth debate, man. Go talk about Bigfoot somewhere else, mate.
That's what I thought. It was Flat Earth debate.
Right.
Nathan, I've got a picture of the model. I didn't have.
So what's the speed of light got to do with Flat Earth then?
So did you say you got a picture of this sphere model, Ryan? Oh, everyone's been kicked, I see. Marvellous. There'll be a short interlude again while I restart this hangout once more, third time today.
That's not very nice and open, is it?
Yo.
Hello again.
I don't know. Who did that?
I think a fake Ranty. So Ranty said he was nipping off for 5 minutes and then a Ranty joined. So I thought he'd just got a computer issue, but it wasn't. I think it was a Ranty sock to boot everyone.
Yep.
So did everybody get booted?
Everyone except Mark.
Oh.
That makes me think it was Mark.
Could it be?
Let's see if we can get Karen back in. We can have a conversation with Karen.
I'm not going to put the link out for at least 10 or 15 minutes now.
Right, Karen B, I've sent you a link in Skype. If you want to rejoin on the link, it's uninterrupted conversation for 10 minutes. So they use sleight of hand to get in on a Ranty Sock account.
Slick.
Clever.
Well, it just makes no difference. What was that, 2 minutes for me to get a new Hangout fired up, and suddenly there's no troll access for 15 minutes. So it's like, well, you know, every time someone comes in and snipes everyone, it just means that that part of the show for 5 minutes initially, then 15 minutes, and if it happens again, the rest of the show won't be public. But I don't mind. Tomorrow's show will be public again.
Oh, Karen can't because it's yeah. Can we have Karen back in on Skype?
Yeah, I don't see why not. Give me 2 seconds.
Right, give me a buzz and I'll drop from this.
You don't need to. I've got Karen on Skype. I've dropped already. If you had Karen.
Let me add her. Bear with me. Karen B. Create group. She should be able to join straight in now.
Hey, can I join in on Skype as well?
No, just stay there. It's too much to manage, Arwen. If you can just stay in the Hangout, that'd be really handy.
Hello.
Hello again.
Hello.
Hi.
We somebody came back through the back door on a Ranty Sock account, and obviously because he said he was nipping out for a minute, and we were expecting him back.
Hello.
We managed to sneak in unannounced.
Real Ranty.
Hello, Real Ranty. I'm not going to share the link for about 10 or 15 minutes, Ranty. So.
Right. Okay.
All right. So obviously with Karen here, I know that you can't tell us too much about Balaton, but is there anything that you can tell us about the Balaton experiment with regards to stuff?
Well, I can tell you that what we found does not go along with the Ball Earth model, and it also completely debunks Mick West bullshit. Excuse me, BS Metabunk calculator. His standard refraction model completely gone.
See, no that's, so we had before we had someone sniping everybody out. We had who was it? It wasn't a rave. It was the other guy, Hellboy. Hellboy was saying that why is it always that it seems to be always be Ranty that's out there doing experiments, and that we just adopt it like a duck to water. Well, the answer is Ranty knows what he's looking for, and when he finds stuff that supports or certainly doesn't support Ball Earth, then we present it to see how strong it is. But it's not just Ranty that's doing it. It's people all over the world. Taboo Conspiracy is doing it in the south of Texas or central Texas. And you guys flew out to Hungary to do some experimentation. Karen, who else do you know that actually does observations and testing stuff?
I don't really know. I mean, other flat earthers.
Yeah, that's what I'm on about. Which content creators do you follow that actually go and do stuff? I mean, Taboo Conspiracy is a really good one.
Yeah, Taboo Conspiracy is a good one. Jaren does stuff.
Flat Max UK. He can see Calais, the port of Calais, from which is on the north coast of France. You can see Calais from Dover, or very close to Dover. And it's supposed to be behind the curve of the Earth. You're not meant to see the boat harbouring at France, and you can see it with the P900, and that's not meant to happen. Yet Ballers just claim that for some reason Hellboy thought that Ranty's the only one that seems to be doing these observations, and he's not.
No, absolutely not. It's just that because I live on a place that is easier, you know, I can go to different places quite easily. So I can look across bodies of water and look at a 20-mile, 30-mile distance quite easily. You know, I mean, I can go, it can take me half an hour to get to certain places, and that's it. So that's why I've got plenty of proofs in this location, at least.
Yeah. We live basically in what you could probably describe as a coastal cove. But there's like islands near us, and we can see these things. And just because you guys tell us that we live on a ball doesn't mean that we actually physically do. Because when we go out and do observations and test that ball theory, it doesn't seem to work. Now, you can only really argue non-standard refraction once or twice in the extreme case. But it's being argued all the time. And if the explanation is that non-standard refraction explains it, if that's considered the accepted version or the proof, for me, that's not strong evidence, because it's an explanation itself doesn't prove anything, in the same way that maths by explanation doesn't prove anything. What proves it is curve. If you say it's curved, show us that curve. Show us the effective curve at least. Don't be showing us that atmospheric effect and then claiming that's curvature. I mean, Pontchartrain's only taken over 16 miles. We're doing observations at 40 plus miles, and we're seeing that it's flat. You guys realistically can't believe that there's curvature on Pontchartrain at 16 miles when we're doing, I mean, not just us, but people are doing 20, 30, 40-mile observations, and it appears to be flat. It's nonsense.
What's the, sorry, going back to this Lake Bellatron, just wondering, what was are you allowed to say what's the furthest distance that you tried to do an experiment at?
The furthest distance that we attempted was 23 kilometers.
Awesome. Awesome. I can't wait to see the results. Was it completely frozen, the lake?
No, it was starting to freeze, though. After we left, it froze over completely.
Typical.
So does that mean that you went too early?
Well, I mean, you can't really predict when it's going to freeze, you know. They were thinking it wasn't going to freeze at all this year. That's what everybody was saying. So we just kind of went because there was no point in waiting to see, because, you know, you have to plan far ahead. You have to get plane tickets and all that stuff. So there isn't really much you can do about it.
Was it as cold as you tell? I mean, how cold was cold?
Extremely, extremely cold. Had like 4 or 5 pairs of pants on and 2 jackets, and it was really cold.
How long did you spend outside in the weather conditions?
It was like every night for 4 or 5 nights.
That doesn't sound like fun.
That sounds like
it wasn't
pure
fun.
dedication. So kudos to you.
Exactly. Yeah, pure dedication. And to be fair, it's you know, I mean, if you look at Ali B, not Ali B, what's he called? That's that guy that we met at St. Bees. Anthony knows.
Alkay.
Alkay, that's the one. Yeah. So Alkay, at least, you know, when he goes and he sits out all day doing his experiments. So, you know, there are people that are willing to do that on both sides, to be fair. And you know, the more evidence that we gather, the better, as far as I'm concerned.
Karen, what kind of temperatures were you operating in? Was it like close to zero?
It was, yeah. It was about, well, it was in the negative Celsius, though, which is not 0 Fahrenheit, but it was like -11, -12, -13 Celsius there. And then it was windy, and we're right on the lake. So it was
wind chill.
Yeah. And then it would snow, and like the wind would blow right in your face. So it was like burning, like felt like burning on your face.
Did you get chapped lips? I mean, lips in the face.
No, because I used chapstick.
I was going to say, did you have a precaution there? Because I'd have got chapped lips within a couple of minutes being out in that cold.
Yeah.
So on the way back then, how long did it take you to travel then from leaving your home? I'm guessing it was 2 days.
Well, from Charlotte to Hungary, it was about, I don't know, 14, 15 hours of traveling.
All right. So even with your transfer, you transferred at Heathrow, right?
Uh-huh.
Even with the transfer, it was still only 15 hours of flight travel.
Yeah.
Well, that's better.
Because it was like an 8-hour flight from here to London, and then from London to Hungary, it was like 2.5 hours.
Are there any
layover
plans to go back?
To Hungary, not right away. No, I think the next laser test is going to be in the Netherlands, over the sea.
Oh, heading towards England.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know if it's going to be going towards England, but yeah.
Cool.
So when can we expect these results being released?
That was my next question.
Well, it's been released to the advanced members and some of the other members already. Right now, we're still going through all the footage that we took there, and we're going to be making a video about it.
So there's not been any official. There's not been any official releases from FE Core yet, open to the public.
No, not yet.
Cool.
Sorry, I can't tell you more.
Yeah, it's cool.
Can you tell my audience what FE Core is, please?
What is it? It's a bunch of independent scientific researchers who just want to find the truth, whatever it is.
What's it stand for?
Well, FE stands for Field Engineers. Core doesn't really stand for anything. Just that's what they've called it. That's what how Mike started it. Mike and Steve and Zach started it. The core group.
What? So is the next experiment Netherlands, or is that just the next planned laser experiment? Do you know what's in the pipeline?
I know they want to do. If you go to the website, you can see the experiments that they have proposed there. They want to redo the Sagnac experiment, and some of the others.
I think Loch Ness would be an awesome observation because it's surrounded by high hills, and it's a long, narrow stretch of loch, basically of 20 miles long. I think that would be fantastic, and obviously you've got banks on each side, so you'd be able to see each other. I want to do an experiment there, but obviously I wouldn't be able to have a laser doing that, but some kind of light system or something to do it. I think it would be easy enough to do there. Up in Scotland.
Oh, Loch Ness.
Loch Ness, yeah.
I missed the first bit of what you said. I didn't think your mic was open when you said it.
Well, it's surrounded by hills, isn't it? So, you shouldn't have too much. The wind should. Well, obviously it'll have some effect, but it won't be too bad. So if you used to set, a light at one side that was, let's say, 20 feet high, and you were trying to observe that from 20 miles away, it should be easy enough to do. And a laser test there would be great.
What about, do you remember maybe 12 months ago, do you remember when Globebusters they did the high altitude balloon footage and the balloon got kidnapped by another drone or whatever it was that happened? It looked like there was another drone in the close vicinity and it went missing. The objective at the time was to try and see whether the stars are visible at a certain altitude. Do you know if there's any plans to repeat that? Because I'm sure that's something that Bob I know he was interested in doing personally, but has that been proposed as something that they might be planning on doing?
Yeah, I think they do want to do more experiments with high altitude balloons. That part hasn't actually been the main discussion in the group, though, quite yet.
Cool. I hope they do that because I want to know whether the stars can be seen from high altitude or not. It appears that they can't, but there's not a lot of evidence out there to make that assertion true, factual. Right, the dogs are gone now. So Karen, do you normally watch the show? Do you normally keep up to date with what's happening in here?
Sometimes I watch it. I don't watch every one of them though because it's on quite early for me.
Oh, yeah. I think he's going to go back to the late evening one when he gets his channel strike removed. When's that due off, Nath?
End of this month.
Yay! So we can have 2 a day again then.
Maybe.
You have to do them for an hour this time.
Because the reason I ask is because we've had 3 experiments done that are in the northwest of England, all around the coast. I mean, we live in a cove. If you look at it from a national size, if you, like, zoom out so that you see like pretty much the whole country, where we live is like a cove, but the cove that we're in has got like a 40-mile diameter, and you can kind of see like places that you would expect to be behind the curve of the Earth. We've seen them since growing up as being kids, and it never even crossed my mind that even when I came into flat Earth, it never crossed my mind that these stuff are supposed to be behind the curve of the Earth. And Ranty's been doing observations, so have I. We can see stuff, and the problem is that the level of rebuke and vitriol that is presented when we show people what we can see. I mean, they literally try and paint us in the worst possible light to try and discredit us in any way possible whatsoever, because we can see stuff that shows that the Earth's not a ball, and they hate it. They absolutely hate it. And the guy that was on before, Hellboy, saying, well, why is it always ranty? Well, it isn't always ranty. There's lots of people that are doing it, but we just happen to live in an area where there's like a cove of around about 40 miles of diameter if it were a circle, and that allows us to see stuff. And it all relies on a clear day. It doesn't rely on refraction. If it's a clear day, you see more. If it's not so clear, you don't see more. Nathan came up to St. Bees with us recently to see for himself how tall these hills were. And on the day in question when Nathan came, although it was like quite a nice day, couldn't even see the Isle of Man, let alone see the Isle of Man lighthouse that we spent hours and hours and hours arguing over. He couldn't even see the island, and it was quite a nice day. But on other days, when it's not quite as nice, the clarity's better and you can see the island. And it's really interesting to see how many observations that we can do in the area that we live. And we didn't even realise that even when we came to Flat Earth, that all these things that we can see, most of them should be behind the curve or at least dropped towards the horizon, and we see them all the time. The only thing that stops us is the clarity of the day, how much moisture is in the atmosphere, how much like convection currents and winds and stuff that's affecting bringing up smog and dust and stuff that stops us from seeing as far as what we could normally see. But that's the only thing that stops us. We're not seeing these things being brought back from behind the curve of the Earth, loomed up from behind the curve, and some kind of hologram. We're just seeing these things on a clear day, and that's really all it is. It's quite an interesting place to live, the northwest of England. But we've also had a guy in Ireland showing us the reverse side of the Isle of Man. It's the opposite view that we've got, and he can see the same kind of stuff. He can see stuff that should be behind the curve, just needs a clear day. It's got nothing to do with the level of refraction at the time. It's just to do with how clear the atmosphere is and how easy you can see through it.
Well, we all know bodies of water don't curve, do they? That's why it's called sea level. You know, have you ever seen curving water?
Nope.
Only if you get it in a salad spinner and spin it fast enough that it sticks to the outside.
Can I just ask Karen something? I know you're on a good point in that, but I may not get another opportunity. So the laser mount that you used, I saw you talk about it on I don't know if you call it a trailer or whatever when you were explaining it, and it just looked like an absolute work of art. Did you get hands-on with it at all?
Well, no, I didn't operate the laser mount, but yeah, it was built by Mike. He built that. He spent weeks and weeks and weeks building it, and it really was a beautiful thing that he built there. Very precise, very small, minute movement for the laser. Yeah, and it was quite big too.
And when I saw it, I was just like, wow. But when people put their minds to things, the end results can be astonishing, and that is an example of that. I mean, it just was glorious.
Yeah, he did an excellent job with that. Him and Steve Torrance were the ones operating it.
I don't know about you, but when me and Ranty go out and do observations, we often have fallouts over the way to proceed or what we should do next or how we get past a particular obstacle or whatever. Were there any disagreements between people on while you were actually doing the observations? Did people fall out over anything?
Yeah. I mean, it's
challenging.
Shooting a laser over a lake that size is not easy. Like, it sounds really easy when you talk about it, but it's really not. It's really not.
Right.
It was quite difficult to do. And it's hard to get sighted in at distances that far. And then we were having a lot of problems with the weather. And also turns out that in cold weather like that, you get more refraction than in warm weather, and it doesn't work the same way as it does in warm weather either. So yeah, there's a lot of arguing and people trying to say, well, this is happening. No, I think this is happening. So yeah, there was some disagreement, but everybody worked through it.
Yeah, I mean, me and Ranty would frequently fall out with each other and rage quit on each other in a private conversation whilst no one's watching other than the people that are in the call. And Nathan's seen it firsthand. And I can imagine the exact same thing would be going on. The question would be, where's the laser? And the answer is, I don't know. And it's like, well, it must be a little bit left. Oh, no, it must be a little bit right. And no one knows where it is. Ah, there it is. And eventually you find it. And everyone's like, ah, right, we found the laser. But until you do find it, I'm guessing there were moments where people were literally like, stop it. That's not right. This way is what you need. And that kind of thing is the kind of thing that we were having all the time. It's just the way it is. You have to disagree with each other to get to a conclusion where you can ultimately prove or not prove something and get to a point where you're at consensus. You have to have that disagreement, and it's to do with how you disagree. So it's like too often it can be a battle of egos. And I'd love to have been there to see some of the people that are disagreeing with whatever, because I know from my own experience that we don't always agree on stuff, and how we disagree on stuff is really important. And ultimately it happens, and you have to get past that to be able to get to the conclusion, but you have to go through it. And while you are going through it, it's really bad.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Karen, I just wanted to ask your opinion on, looming, the effects of looming. Would you say that if something was loomed up, let's suppose you was looking at a television, for instance, television 20 miles away, and the television was going to be loomed up, would you expect to see the television as crystal clear, or would you expect to see it being all sort of like all different kinds of shapes? But you can make out it's a TV, but basically it's just a blob.
Roy Rogers, how you doing? Can you hear us? Can you hear us, Roy? Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, so would you expect to see it as when they say things are loomed up, they say you're looking at the skyline of a distant city over a lake, and the entire skyline is lifted up in symmetry, and the lights are on and everything, and you've got flashing lights going everywhere, and everything looks like looking at the city. Do you think that's realistically what we're actually seeing? Or do you actually think that we're actually just seeing it, or is that the effects of looming?
Or do you take my view, which is this looming nonsense is a load of nonsense?
Well, I think it's a load of nonsense. I mean, if something was looming, I would if that was what was going on, I would expect it to be distorted. I mean, how could something, light be bending from that far away and then come to your eye crystal clear? Like that just doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. It's like you wouldn't expect to see it just as you would see it in a photograph. You'd expect to see things stretched, a bit like Skunk Bay, where, say, the bottoms of it or the middle of it are just stretched a little bit. But you wouldn't expect to see it all loomed up perfectly. Like when they were arguing about the Isle of Man images, they were saying the entire island was being loomed up in perfect symmetry. So everything that we were seeing, we weren't actually seeing. But the Isle of Man itself wasn't really the Isle of Man. It was all hologram, because they were trying to say that it was loomed up. Clearly, that was ridiculous.
And not only like looming up in perfect symmetry, it was doing it in a way that makes it just so happen to look flat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, exactly. I think
it didn't make it look concave because it had gone a little bit too far. It just made it look flat, but it was perfect all the time. It was it's non-standard refraction.
That was the most telling part for me. Most telling part, because they've got the art calculations absolutely, pegged for representing what we see in a camera lens as a flat plane image. But yet they've got the maths down pegged. So it's obviously common as muck to see things represented as though they're flat. Yet they've got the maths down pegged. So it just says it all, doesn't it? They know it's flat. They've co-opted maths to make it seem like it's curved. It doesn't even seem like it's curved. When you see it modelled with refraction taken into account, it looks exactly the same as our model. So what they're saying is, oh yeah, well, even though it's curved, as soon as we put these numbers in, we get it to look exactly as it looks in your image, i.e. flat. But that means it's curved. You're like, ugh, what a load of nonsense.
Yeah, it is a ball, but in visuals, it unwraps perfectly to become flat. It's an unwrapped ball.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it has to be.
Karen, how did you get into flat Earth yourself? I've never even asked you this question. It just goes without saying that you were just there at the beginning, like God, and like in the beginning there was Karen. That's kind of the way I saw it. How did you come to flat Earth yourself? What was the turning point for you?
Well, I was just like everybody else, just researching all the other lies that are being told to us. Financial corruption, political corruption, medical corruption, vaccines, all that stuff, all the stuff that everybody looks into. And then I had a friend who posted a flat Earth video on Facebook, and I almost unfriended him because I thought it was really stupid. And so instead of doing that, I actually clicked on the video because I thought it was going to be funny. And then I watched it and I was like, well, that's not really funny because it actually kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
But then I was like, well, there's no way, there's no way. So of course, then I spent the next 2-3 weeks, sleepless and looking for information, because back then there wasn't anywhere near the amount of information there is now, like now it's so easy. It's so easy to find stuff now, but back then it really wasn't. And I was kind of looking for stuff on my own. And I'm actually kind of glad that it was that way for me. Because I can say that not everything, I didn't come to Flat Earth just by watching Flat Earth videos. Like I actually went and researched things on my own separately. So I have a better appreciation for it, I think.
Essentially, I think that was the same with me. I started off with things doing like the chemtrails, and then obviously get into 9/11 and stuff like this, and then the 7/7 stuff in the UK. And then I kept seeing videos popping up for Flat Earth, and I just refused to look at it because I thought that's just ridiculous. Don't even go near that. And when I run out of other things to look at, it was literally as a last resort, I clicked on one of these videos, and I think I watched perhaps a couple of days worth of videos, and something just registered, and I thought, you know what, I need to find out for myself, and went and got a P900 pretty much immediately, and that was it. I was kind of hooked from then. And this is like the conspiracy of all conspiracies, because it's the conspiracy you least want to believe in, but it obviously is the biggest conspiracy, because what is beyond that we don't know about? What is out there? Where do we live?
But technically, we all start out not wanting the conspiracy to be true, and then when you actually approach it, then you figure out that it is true.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to believe in Star Trek.
I didn't want to believe in 9/11, that it was an inside job. Just a terrible idea that a government would do something like that, that there would be a nefarious group arranging something like this. I thought that was a terrible idea. So it's a ridiculous argument that a lot of anti-conspiracy skeptics bring on, is that, oh yeah, you just want to believe that to be special. No. It's actually quite terrible to believe it.
Yeah, if you look around the list of videos and films that have been put out recently, in fact, even going back to when I was a kid, you had things like Lost in Space and stuff like this. It's all been conditioned to sort of like get you in that mindset that, in the future, maybe not us, but our descendants will be able to go to distant galaxies and explore, and there's all this fantastic stuff to go and look forward to. Humans are just starting out, and to find that was taken away was a hard pill to swallow, because it really was. I didn't want that. I mean, I wanted to believe that there was going to be Star Trek and all this kind of stuff. I wanted that, but it's a realism now that just isn't the case. Sad,
Colin, what's your views on Soundly? We call him Refraction Soundly. What do you think what do you think's going on in that area of the world?
You mean with Soundly or with Lake Pontchartrain itself?
No, not Soundly personally. The work he presents.
I don't really know. I would like to I would like FECOR to go down there and do some experiments and make some observations down there, because I don't know. It does seem to you know, obviously something's going on there that doesn't happen in everywhere, you know, and it's a really humid place down there.
Yeah.
That might have something to do with it.
Sorry to interrupt. Hey, Billy, how you doing?
Yeah, hey Nathan, can you hear me?
Hey, Mark.
Yeah, what's up?
Usual.
Yeah, I had to come on this account because someone sniped me. I don't know why. I don't snipe people, so I don't know why they're sniping me.
Looks like we're about to get all sniped.
Do you know whether there's any plans for FE Core to go down there imminently? Because I'd love to see them go over there and do some like research.
They haven't really talked about it yet. I think I might propose it though. I think I might type something up and propose it myself because I'm probably the closest member to Louisiana. So
right.
Yeah, Anthony. Sorry, Karen, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Anthony, why did you snipe me?
Because you tend to derail conversation, Mark.
Right. So you're just sniping people for no reason now.
I don't like your attitude. I don't like the way you behave to other people.
So you're just going to snipe people then, Anthony, yeah?
Yeah, you generally derail conversation, Mark.
Right, okay. And that's your decision now, is it then? Is it?
Well, sniping's generally turned a blind eye to. Nathan doesn't encourage it, but
okay,
he realises it goes on.
Fair enough. Okay.
Well,
it's okay. As long as you've given the green light on sniping, that's fine. Just so everyone knows now that sniping is okay.
Well, sniping is okay, isn't it?
Don,
there's no reason.
Well, I didn't snipe before, but now you've given me the green light. I will snipe now.
Oh,
of course. Thanks for giving me the green light to snipe, Ronnie.
Yeah, do what you want, Mark. No one cares.
I do.
So right, Karen, I may have missed this, Karen. Your findings from that laser thing you guys did in Hungary gonna be shown?
Probably in a couple of weeks after they finish producing the video about it.
Okay. Do we get any kind of sneak peeks as to like what it showed? Because I would have thought like if it showed something good, then we would have known about it by now.
Well, FECOR members have been given an update already. People who are members of FECOR.
Okay. I mean,
shut the fuck up, bitch.
Sorry, you're muted, Hellboy. By the way.
6ix9ine. Don't be going there with me, bro.
I think certain people need to be there.
Anyways, my bad.
I find it incredibly suspicious today that Mark Taylor's come back on the scene, and he was actually on the scene in Anthony's live stream before. And since you've gone live today, we've had how many snipes have happened today?
Don't know.
This was my third time.
Well, Riley's been sniping a few people, so do you count Riley in that, Randy?
Yeah, and the reason why I'm sniping people, Mark, is what? Because a lot of the people that do get sniped
because
are
you can't handle
genuinely people
hold your
asking
feet
questions,
to the fire
or they're
and show
generally
how much
disruptive trolls.
Fool you are.
Hey Steve,
that's why you snipe, Riley. That's why you snipe.
Mark, you need to be sniped constantly.
That's
you're
why
a
you
total
snipe the other
waste
people that
of
hold you
space
to
and
account.
time.
Because you're a coward, Riley. That's why.
You are a waste of space.
That's why you
and
ban
time,
everyone on your
Mark.
channel, Riley, because you can't handle
useless troll.
Fuck up, man.
Seriously, has that guy ever made any sort of contribution to the conversation besides? I mean, it doesn't. He doesn't add anything of value
because he has a speech impediment as well. He is a total retard and a waste of space, and an annoying freaking troll that just refuses to go away. That is what he is. I'd auto kick him like immediately.
Well, we did get rid of him for probably about a month. I think maybe he was locked up for 28 days, perhaps for restalking. Because I know some reports were made about his stalking techniques. You know, like phoning me up and stuff. So they might have locked him up for 28 days. That's why he's been off the scene for a bit.
I think he's been on the scene just using troll accounts. But anyway, let's not spend time talking about this Yahoo. Let's talk about stuff that's really interesting. So Pontchartrain. My views on Pontchartrain is whatever's going on there. I think Sound is being very selective with what he shows. I think that he shows.
I have a question for Karen B.
You would think that, wouldn't you?
I'd like to ask a question. Hello, this is Steve Anthony from BBC News.
Welcome,
Steve Anthony, the one that sniped everybody last week.
What is it?
We're on location.
A lot of people.
I can't understand a word you guys are saying.
To be a compulsive liar.
Sorry, was that a question aimed at somebody?
That's a question aimed for Karen.
I think they're going cuckoo.
That was good.
Was that Karen's answer?
Hello, Karen.
Hello, Karen.
This is the minefield you
Karen,
step into, Karen, when you come here, because it is an open debate and people can come in and behave like this. It's not.
No, it's not an
civil
open
as
debate.
we'd like it to be.
If anybody wants to know why there aren't more women who are active in flat Earth, this is why.
Shut the fuck
Look
up.
what's happening to me.
Stupid
This is
flat
why.
Earth.
Women don't want to subject themselves to this. I mean, who would want to? It's ridiculous. You can't even have a civil conversation without, these people acting like stupid little kids. Morons, yes.
It's beyond that. But
remember that their job is literally to disrupt and derail as much conversation as humanly possible. That's why they exist.
So you want an echo chamber then, Riley? You're
Not at all.
an echo
We want a
chamber
debate,
where you
Mark.
can
We
all
want
get
some
together,
evidence to show the
where you can all get
nature of the
together
world
and
in
give
which
each
we
other a
live.
reach around.
We want to see the curve.
So that's what you want, Riley.
Karen,
we want to see
hello?
evidence, Mark. We want to see the curve.
Karen?
You want an echo chamber, Riley?
No, Mark.
That's why you snipe, Riley, because you can't handle it, because you've got no explanation.
No, I just don't like
saying
you,
that
Mark.
light doesn't travel.
different.
When in the next breath you say light travels.
Are you a moron?
So
Are you a
stupid.
moron? Are you a moron? Flat British is speaking. Blah, blah, blah. Are you a moron?
Right.
So, Karen, are you there? Are you there, Karen?
I am. Yes.
Cool. Hello, my name's Steve Anthony. I'm from BBC News. I asked you a question earlier. I'm not sure if you heard the question, so I'm going to repeat it again. Is that all right?
Yeah, I'm sure you're real.
You're not from BBC News.
I am very real. I'm not a hologram.
That's Steve
This is real. Everyone believes
No,
all the
but
BBC
you're really
says. Don't
BBC,
you know
of
that?
course you are.
BBC.
Okay, I'm going to ask the question now. Okay. How does
Can
it
you
feel
provide
to
a
be
link
part
in
of-
chat to where you're actually streaming towards, maybe?
As a follow-up question,
No,
how
his
does
question
it
is
feel for
about
yourself,
trolling.
Karen B, to be a compulsive liar?
Nathan, just
Thank you very much.
kick both of these two guys.
Hello.
Yo, hello.
You a moron? You a moron or something?
I think what they've decided to do here is, because Karen's actually made an appearance on the show, is they're trying to basically make her think that she should never come back again, because this is how bad it is, and it generally isn't always this bad.
No, you
know.
definitely got a few.
Nah, she'll always
real
come back.
stalkers there.
Refraction will always bring her back.
Well, see, you and Riley can't do anything about it now. You're not in a hangout, are you? So you can't snipe people.
Yeah, but if
See, this is
Nathan
what
really
happens
wanted
when
to,
you
he could
snipe
just end the
people
Google Hangout
and you want
in,
an echo chamber,
and then
Riley.
we'd have
See,
our
this is
echo
what
chamber back.
happens.
Yeah,
So
but
if
Mark,
you
you've
want
got
it
a
to be like
publicly
this
available
permanently,
link.
then that's
If
your
you choose
choice,
not
but
to use it and you send in drongos, it's not an echo chamber, is it?
You've given
Are you a
permission for everyone on air to snipe.
No, I only snipe the people that cause problems.
Anyway, back to Lake Pontchartrain.
Yeah.
Yes. So I'd love to see some experiments done there. Perhaps that laser, because it's not a huge distance, is it? What, 20 miles or something? Do you think the laser could manage that?
Yeah, Karen, why didn't you go to Pontchartrain? You flew all the way to Europe, but you didn't go to Pontchartrain. Why is that?
Okay, well, first of all, the mount was built and fabricated in Europe. Okay, and you can't just put something like that on a plane very easily. The cost to ship something like that would be, quite a bit of money. Also, the other thing is that. Are you going to let me answer the question?
No, you're going to talk over him anyway because we're in Skype. We're dominating. Just keep on going, let him ramble.
Yeah, but it's still rude for somebody to ask a question and then when you're partway through your answer, somebody jumps in. This is typical Mark Taylor. So, I mean, I'd be interested to know the answer though, definitely. Because obviously, if it's fabricated in Europe, and as you're saying, the cost to transport it back to America would be substantial. So, makes sense. Do the
You don't need a laser to go to Pontchartrain and take the same pictures that Soundly done. That would debunk his pictures, wouldn't it? Well,
Yeah, and maybe someday we can do that. But the first test was done in Europe. The mount was built in Holland, and so they drove it to Hungary. The laserist that we work with was from Hungary. Sandor was the other person who put together who coordinated everything with the laserist, and he's in Hungary. And I'm sure you're all familiar with the first laser test that was done on the same lake a couple of years ago. Dr. Zach has a video on it. But that one was done in the summertime, and they wanted to repeat the test during the winter. I mean, that's why. It's pretty simple.
So they pay for your travel and accommodation.
I'm sorry, I can't understand you.
Nobody can understand.
He slavers a bit when he talks. It's just his nature.
Do you think that laser could possibly reach Ireland for some bees?
I don't know.
No.
That's a long ways.
All right.
You have to have a
How much
pretty
better did
powerful laser
FECOR
with a
do
highly
when it
collimated
registers
lens.
itself as a church?
Do you think it's because that Europe was a lot more money to make from travelling all the way from the States? They've done it like that instead of going to Pontchartrain, which would have cost hardly anything. Do you think that's why, Karen?
How would it have cost hardly anything? Because a lot of our members are in Europe, and they just would have had to fly to America.
Well,
and then we would have had to ship them out. It would have cost more money to do it in Pontchartrain than it did in Lake Balaton. That is a dumb question.
Karen, so you're going to fly to every experiment that Flat Earth Core does then?
I'm sorry. Can you take whatever is in your mouth out of your mouth before you start speaking so I can understand you?
It's his tongue.
Okay.
Oh, he's got a big foot in his mouth.
Right, I've got marbles in my mouth. Right, Karen,
Yeah,
try
your
this.
brain too.
Are you gonna fly to every experiment that
The marbles are starting to roll.
Matt, that was getting worse, not better.
Yeah.
Are you a fucking moron? You're a moron. You're a moron or something.
What is that?
I think it's a recorded message.
Weird.
Yeah, I think.
How do people sleep at night when you're scamming vulnerable people out of money and lying to them? And it's just ridiculous.
Oh yeah, that's what NASA do, though, isn't it? Right? Tell us lies about what we think that we live on, right?
And they don't scam you; they just tax you.
Mark's an astronomer, apparently.
I thought he was a phone receptionist or something.
Is there some actual analysis that? Is there some actual analysis that actually proves the CGI to the level of that you guys enjoy claiming?
Yeah, every single image is digitized.
Results are results.
It's a computer-generated image. Every single one. Look up Hubble images. Every single image of Hubble is computer-generated.
If you really want to get semantic about it, right now everything I'm looking at on my screen is CGI. Where is the actual analysis of everything that NASA and the other space agencies have produced image-wise that were not labeled as artist rendition? So take those out.
There's one. It's the photo from the 70s that showed the perfect spherical marble, which isn't conforming to our observations in reality of the 7.98 inches.
Right. And there's still just the one, is there? It's amazing.
7.9 inches per square mile. True.
7.98. 7.98.
Per square mile.
Old. Do you guys realize how old of a term CGI is? CGI is in the industry anymore.
What's the square mile?
How many of these are real people? Because it sounds like it's just all recorded messages.
It does. I think they're just debating. It's just a debate that they've had in the past that they're replaying. They don't seem live.
How many people are actually in the chat now, other than the obvious recognizable voices?
Oh, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Wow.
It sounds like there's a conversation within a conversation between people that are not even part of this conversation. Hence why I think it's recorded. It doesn't normally go like this.
Whoa, Louis got rid of the white shirt.
What part's recorded?
Is this part recorded, Fathead?
Yeah, what part?
part where you speak.
Can we talk about Karen's and FE Core's failure to get results? Because that's what I thought this was about.
Lewis.
So I'm guessing Lewis isn't actually in here.
Well, to be fair, it wasn't said that they didn't get any results. Her statement was that they are.
I want to hear from them, guys. We already agree.
Presentation has been.
No, the answer was to the question was that they do have results. They're working on the results right now, and they will publish them when they have finished getting all the data together.
Oh, okay.
And
what was the budget for the
preliminary results do not show evidence of a curved Earth.
Hello.
That was what was
said.
No, I'm sorry.
So you've already judged the results before you published them?
No.
That's normal.
How does that work in an experiment then?
Yeah, but you understand. By saying the preliminary results didn't show a flat or even a curved Earth, just at all. I.e., the entire experiment was debunked and shit.
All right, there's a few things I'm interested in. The budget for the experiment and how many people and who the people were that did it. That's what I'm interested in.
Yeah, how
why
many
would you be
dresses
interested
did Karen
in the
get for
budget?
the experiment? New
What would
shoes
What's the budget got to do with anything?
and some lippy.
Yeah, money has nothing to do with
The budget.
It
It doesn't matter. That's what I'm interested in. That's what I'm interested in knowing. I don't care what you think is relevant.
Yeah, but you're not going to get told what the budget is. It's like you asking me what my salary is. Nobody's going to tell you that. It has nothing to do with the
I'm asking
experiment.
Karen.
That's ridiculous.
I'm asking Karen, Ranty. I'm asking Karen, not you.
Well, I'm pretty sure that'll be her answer too.
That's right.
Is this actually a conversation, or is this all recorded messages?
No, it's a conversation, but they're here en masse to troll, aren't they? You've got all the players. You've got all the players in today. It's because Karen's made an appearance.
He's actually here now.
Yes, he's here. Yeah.
Oh right, I thought it was a recorded message.
No, it was shown that he's in there.
Right. Okay.
And with that, I'm going to say first and foremost a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible, and of course a massive, enormous, huge thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully for sharing this debate. If you've not done so already, be sure to like, comment, share and subscribe. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.